Oh, Daniel, can you hear us?
I got you.
All right. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, happy to. Happy to. Look forward to talking to everybody.
Yes, we really appreciate it in advance. The race this weekend at Talladega. Just talk to us a little bit about, what it's like to race at Talladega and what it means to have an extra $100,000 on the line as well.
Yeah, the extra 100 grand is always good, right? First off, what Comcast and Xfinity does for our series is unbelievable, really. I was fortunate enough to win that 100 grand back in Bristol, I believe it was, in 2017. So I was excited about it. My team was excited about it. My wife was very excited about it. So it's cool to have that shot again and to go to a place like Talladega and know that we had such fast JGR Supras at Daytona. And that's honestly, the Superspeedway program has been a constant evolution for JGR. They never felt like they put a ton of effort into the program. Their cars always drove good, but feel like they lacked some raw speed. And I didn't feel like we really lacked anything. We were at the season opener at Daytona. So this is our second go at it. Obviously, our communication's better now with our teammates than what it was then. We're all way more on the same page than we were then. And I feel like we can only be stronger than we were at Daytona, which I thought we did a really good job for about 90% of the race of utilizing one another and giving ourselves and our organization a shot. So go to Talladega and have that kind of stuff on the line. We're looking forward to it.
All right, and we'll now go to questions. If you have a question for Daniel, friendly reminder, just raise your hand within the Zoom platform or send us a note in the chat. And to take our first question, we're going to go with Marty. Go ahead, Marty.
Thanks, Amanda. Daniel, thanks for your time, man. You're one that's driven the Cup Series package of the drivers that are in the Xfinity Series. So I was just wondering if you could talk about like the main difference between the racing type between Cup and Xfinity at super speedways.
Yeah, I mean, I ran my first 500, with a different package than what I ran the last couple of my Cup races. So got to feel the differences in those restricted and then unrestricted, and it's changed, I think, even some now from what it was when I got out of the Cup Series. So, honestly, the one thing that sticks out is the ability to, or more or less how you regulate locking bumpers in the Xfinity Series. You don't have that at the Cup level. So the intensity and the pushes and the shoves are bigger than what you ever experienced in the Xfinity cars. And because you can lock bumpers, the runs are bigger when you're trying to defend whatever's coming from out back. So I think once you gain track position on the Xfinity side and put yourself in the position as the race winds down, it's not easy by any means, but it's easier to maintain that than what it is at the Cup level because those runs aren't as big coming from behind. So just little things. I do believe that experiencing some of that at the Cup level has made me way more confident now being back in the Xfinity Series when I go super speedway racing, because things are happening so fast at that level that really slows everything down once you get back to the Xfinity Series and have a chance to go to these racetracks.
I know it's early on in the season though, but just looking at when it comes to playoff points, Austin Cindric's really got you up by 11 right now. Is the outlook really going to be focusing on staying up front and trying to get those playoff points and the stage wins too?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? I mean, we've been fortunate to win, I think, 3 stages now, 3 or 4 stages. I think that's either the most or second most in the series. And I think, he's got the stage point lead on us solely from his wins, right? So, and we're confident as a race team that those will come. So we're not in any hurry by any means or panic mode. We feel like we're doing a really good job of positioning ourselves, and that's what we'll have to do when we get to Talladega. It's, for me, I feel the most confident being aggressive and trying to get to the front. And if you do that, then obviously those stage points and hopefully playoff points are in our future when we get to Talladega.
Thanks, Daniel. Good luck to you this weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Zach Albert. Go ahead, Zach.
Thanks, Amanda. Daniel, you look at your finishes this year and where you guys stand. I don't know, for you, is there frustration that the win column is still empty, or is there confidence that, the results are full of, second places, third finishes, and lots of laps led that have had you in the ballpark? Is it a mix of both?
I'd say more of the excitement than the disappointment. The opportunity is obviously there, right? I've said my entire career that, you got to go lead laps and you got to win stages and you got to do all those things to be able to hit a home run and knock those wins out of the park. And myself and Dave Rogers had a very clear cut path and plan laid before us when we started the season as far as where we want to be in all those categories. Just further going on that, of what I'm saying is, you can look back at recent history, whether it be top fives, top tens, lead laps, DNFs, the things that have distinguished the Xfinity Series champion of the last 5+ years, especially going to the playoff format. And it's all relatively close if you look at all that stuff. So I feel like we're on par, and really maybe even a little ahead in some of those categories from where those past champions were. And because of that, that means we're doing a lot of things really good. Between the laps led and the stage wins, we've been going the right direction in those categories. And obviously there's a 0 in the win column, but the cool part is, especially during our off time here, we've had a chance to reflect and look back at, get a different perspective on some of the near misses on wins this year. But every week, I think, 90% of the races we ran, we've had a shot. And by having those shots, man, no different than Denny on the Cup side, you got to keep showing up. You can't not keep running like that and having race cars like that and not winning. So, yeah, we feel very optimistic of our chances to not only knock one out here in the near future, but many.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Our next question will come from Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Thanks, Amanda. Daniel, what are some of your favorite memories of racing short tracks around the Carolinas?
Oh man, that's a deep question. For me, it's more the grind, and it wasn't just around the Carolinas. Honestly, man, we'd load up on Friday nights and go race, and then come back, switch the cars over, and change gears and all that good stuff, and then take off to Georgia or take off to Alabama, Florida, wherever it was. Just wherever they were racing, we thought we'd go racing against the best competition, and I think just that grind. I love that. I love the sleepless nights and the on the road, the travel, and what it took to get to the next event. Obviously, when you went and you win, makes those road trips back home that much more enjoyable, and something that those memories made. There's something you'll never forget, and for sure shape you and mold you into the person you become. So I'm thankful for those nights up and down the road.
Did you have a favorite track in the Carolinas or in the region?
For me, I'm not sure exactly what time frame we're talking about, but growing up, you always looked forward to running the summer shootout there on the quarter mile at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You knew you were going to have the best of the best from everywhere in the country. Really, everybody would come to Charlotte to run that 10-week series, and that was something that always happened right about the time you were getting out of school for the summer, and went all the way until you went back to school. And because of that, you just spent your entire summer there racing, let alone all the other places you went on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. So, that hub was something that I feel like was always circled every year that I loved going to.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Our next question will come from Daniel McFadden. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. So, having raced for organizations like Richard Childress Racing and Junior Motorsports, how different is what you're experiencing with Joe Gibbs Racing this year compared to years past? How is this team different?
Yeah, it's just they're all different in their own ways. Obviously, have different personnel for the most part, and obviously, just the amount of time I've been in it now, there are some people that have moved around. You find yourself working with again that you've worked with in past organizations. But the one that sticks out to me is just, buttoned up isn't the right word maybe, but the tools and resources that Joe Gibbs Racing has, obviously with the luxury of being with Toyota and Toyota Racing, there's so many tools I can just look at from the driver's side that I have at my fingertips, whether it be from our workout program to our simulator stuff. I think that's more or less where I want to go with this is there's so much more at my fingertips now at JGR, especially on the simulation side, where, the other manufacturers, obviously I was with Chevrolet for a long time. The resources are spread very thin, especially on the simulator stuff. So you don't get that much time where JGR, man, we're able to spend a ton of time utilizing that resource. I know it's fun for me because obviously been a long time since I've been in a full-time situation in the Xfinity Series. So having that time to go and run these cars and these packages at racetracks that I didn't even run last year, it's really good for me to kind of get in the flow of things and feel like when they drop the green flag at these places, I feel like I'm up to speed and up to speed fast. But yeah, I mean, they're just all different in their own ways. And I've enjoyed learning something new and a different process. I think that's what kind of keeps you young, if you will, is having to evolve and adapt. And I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of that.
So the simulation thing that kind of plays into my second question is this is basically, aside from 4 races over the last 2 years, you haven't had any practice time or anything like that. How frustrating has that been in being able to adapt to 2 different new teams? And is there relief in that everyone else is in the same position as you?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is currently in the same position, but you're also competing against guys that have past notes with their current teams and their current organizations and all that. That's maybe the part that I have to put in perspective. I talked about the breaks we had here recently, having to realize how good of a job we are actually all doing collectively inside JGR, of especially within the 18 team, of showing up these places, not having notes together and competing, right? We're only building our playbook stronger and better as we continue through the season. So yeah, everybody's in the same boat, but you know, some guys for sure have a leg up on the communication side that Dave Rogers and myself are constantly getting better at. Yeah, like I said, you're lining up in the Xfinity car, low downforce, different tire than I ran back when I got out of it in 2018. A lot of different things, but all that taps into what we were talking about. There's so many resources that I don't feel like I'm behind by any means, nor does this race team. When we show up and we get to compete against these guys week in and week out, we feel like we've done our homework and we've prepped and done the right things to make up, you know, that gap. And we just have really fast supers that makes my job a ton of fun. And I'm loving where I'm at.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Our next question is going to come from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Daniel, as you do prep work for Talladega, I'm guessing you've gone back and watched the tape, obviously, of last fall's race. And I'm curious, can you talk me through the last couple of laps from your perspective? Because looking at it, certainly you seemed to be in a good position, second in line behind Gregson when Briscoe cut down. What kind of happened that kind of forced you into the middle lane? And that kind of seemed to be kind of the end of things. Was that more situational, or do you look back as a mistake, or is it a case of, hey, everything's happening in tenths of seconds that, it's you can't Monday morning quarterback just learn from what happened? I'm just curious, can you kind of talk me through the last couple laps and what you kind of went through?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I remember that well. As the laps were winding down, I want to start by saying that I by no means have been a good plate racer, and I've always found myself in the wrong situation. So that in itself, being in the mix at the end of the race, was something I have not experienced much of at Superspeedway. So it was, one, managing that, two, trying to make the move, but not at the detriment of the organization that I was running for, from my side and the 9 sides last year. But also thought we were in a good spot to where we were going to be able to make a run to get one of us in victory lane. And I remember the laps clicking down and thinking the way our cars have been able to lock up off the turn 2, I thought that was a strong suit of ours. And when we went to pull the trigger to make a move, it was very odd. I remember sitting down in the debrief after the race with a 9 group last year, and when we locked bumpers, there was a weird shift of energy and some things happened that I had never experienced, especially being that far, up the pack, everybody's single file, trying to do the right thing and make the right move. And for sure, some stuff I can put in the memory bank of why things happened the way they happened. And then obviously, everything transpired to where we got shuffled at one point and just, the runs deteriorated. So that was tough to swallow, but I also thought in that moment, something clicked for me as those laps were winding down of what I need to do if I get a shot to go back there. And for sure is way down the memory bank of things I can improve on myself. if I find myself in that position as the laps wind down this coming weekend.
And forgive me, and can you give me a sense of what you meant by that change of energy? I can't relate to that. And I'm sure, I'm sure that some of that you don't want to give up. I understand, but can you kind of put me a little bit more in the seat to give me a sense of what you were feeling, and then suddenly what changed, and how something that a fan can't see can change the dynamic of a finish in a dramatic way like that?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about with the Xfinity Series, there's no locking bumpers allowed. But as the laps wind down, you see that become more and more aggressive, and you're trying to use as much and push as much as you can without literally staying locked. And as that was happening, and I could lock for split seconds at a time with a 9 car, we got to a point to where it was like he was holding the brake, and all I was doing was picking his back tires off the ground. We were not actually propelled forward. And it literally was just like we were just slowing ourselves down by trying to be aggressive and push. We made some moves early in the race that you don't ever get that sense of drop in engine tone or drop in RPMs by doing something similar. So it was interesting how far forward we were in the pack at that given moment and trying to do those things, and how it had the opposite effect on our race cars and our ability to make momentum. So that was something that I've never experienced. And obviously from the fans side, you're like, man, they're just locked up, not going nowhere. Well, that's why the energy changed so fast. And you literally just get, bogged down, and your energy is killed, and you don't have enough laps nor enough car count to continue to rebuild that energy in enough time to make another move at taking the lead. And
last thing is you've noted that obviously the rule about locking bumpers. Certainly you've been in Cup where you can do those things. Because of your experience in Cup and experience in Xfinity, is the talent level in Xfinity, is it getting to a high enough level to where the idea of locking bumpers, it might be something that could be considered, or do you still have to be careful because there could be the disparity of experience and talent? And look, I mean, this is still a dangerous thing. Can you give me a sense of, is it something that could be examined? Obviously, the issue of locking bumpers often is controversial at the end on how NASCAR calls things or doesn't call things. Is it time to say, go ahead and do it, or why or why not?
It's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, I can tell you from the driver's seat on the Xfinity side, the cars cannot physically get to one another's back bumpers as easily as you can in the Cup car. The bubble seems way bigger in the Xfinity car, right? So one, having a car that will even allow you to do it is tough. Then you can work really hard to get your car to do it throughout practice and stuff, which obviously we don't have. And you can get those big runs, and being able to get closer for sure propels energy forward. It can move a lane forward better. But then you run into the point of, all right, well, you got guys that can bust that bubble. Well, if he's shoving that guy forward and he's having to lift because he don't want to attach the guy in front of him and get in trouble, then you see an accordion effect, and that's half the time when the guy gets turned out of the pack and crash. So there's that side of it. Then there's just the pure fact that with the ride heights of these cars, obviously everybody's splitters on the ground once we start the race, and with the ride height rule, the backs are so high and the nose are so low that when you get to another guy, as soon as you do touch him, a lot of times it's just picking the back of his car up. So the ride heights are a thing that for sure makes it tough for the Xfinity cars, even when you can break that bubble, to line up correctly. It takes a lot of finesse from the guy leading and the guy following to touch each other and not have those big moments that really just pull your line backwards. So there's a lot to it. I think the talent level, Superspeedway racing, a lot of guys have now done it more and more times and are feeling more comfortable. I wish it wasn't something we had to worry about, but on the flip side of it, I don't know, just double-edged sword. I don't know where I stand on it. It's just the fact that there's a couple things that add up that create either guys try not to lock and they get crashed, or guys locking and crashing each other. It's a mixed bag, no matter how you look at it. And for sure, the ride height thing seems to be one of the bigger components of why guys do get turned out of the pack and crashed.
Thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead, Ashley.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for your time today. When it comes to getting those runs near the end of a race and working with a teammate, at what point do you say, okay, teammate, I've had enough working with you. It's time to look at myself and go for that win?
Yeah, I mean, first off, you got to do the best thing you can to position yourself, right? You got to do anything you can personally for yourself and your race team, individually, to get to the front. And then if you can do that, like at Daytona, I thought as JGR as a whole, we did a really good job of utilizing each other when you can, but also knowing you got to position yourself to get in that position. And once you get there, that's when that question comes up, right? You know, when's the right time? And for me, the right time is when can I, if I'm the following teammate, when can I make this move that is one going to be the best way that I can get my 18 team in victory lane without creating a loss in the win column for JGR as a whole. That's that balance that you gotta weigh into that decision in the middle of the moment. You can draw the picture up and paint it however you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to repeat and it's not going to replicate what you thought it was going to be or how you've seen it happening. So it's just being, I think, situationally aware of what's going on and not making that move to where it prevents the entire company from being able to celebrate, come the next morning. So yeah, just weighing that risk versus reward. And obviously, it's one thing this first go around, as the season goes on, that does change as well because everybody's agendas change. But for right now, that is the goal.
And you spent yesterday at the Circuit of the Americas with Toyota. How was that experience? And what surprised you most about seeing the track up close? Yeah,
that's a great question. I was, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't watched a ton of stuff from Circuit of the Americas in the past. I may have seen an F1 race on television, but prior to doing sim work with Toyota, I never laid eyes on the racetrack. So to have a chance to go there and, first off, be a part of the Toyota racing family and be able to, bring to light that they're going to be the official pace car and official vehicle of COTA that weekend during NASCAR weekend at COTA. And obviously they were announcing that they're, the Tundra 225 is presenting sponsor for the truck race. Doing those events was what got me and allowed me to go see that racetrack, which I was really pumped about because things you do in simulation and the visuals and the things you think you're picking up on do change when you get there in reality. So having a chance to look at the track a little bit, be a part of an event, I was very thankful to Toyota for letting me be a part of that. It all goes a long way in helping all of us, move the needle in the right direction.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take our final question from Anton. Go ahead, Anton.
Amanda, so you're still looking for a win. Regarding the fact that Talladega is the track where unexpected could happen, do you think that this is one of your best opportunities to win this year?
In your question, there's a lot of wind noise, but as far as opportunities to win, I literally get on the airplane, fly the racetrack this year, knowing that Dave Rogers, my guys, have prepared a race car that's going to be capable of winning. It's my job to get us to that point. And that's a feeling, literally makes the hair of my arm stand up because that's something that you dream of. When I kind of bet on myself to make this move to JGR and had this opportunity, that's what it was all about, was trying to achieve that feeling. That's something I experienced a lot growing up racing. That's what you kind of build your resume off of and get your opportunities from, is going and winning. And I wholeheartedly believe in my heart every single week I got a shot to win. And that's tough to find. It's tough to come by. It's something that you definitely do not take for granted. And for sure, for like Talladega is just as good of an opportunity as Martinsville was, as Vegas was, and the races before that. So that's hard to find. I'm pumped about that.
Thank you. Wishing you all the best for this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for spending a couple extra minutes with us as well to help us get all the questions in. We really appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend in Talladega.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.